Alright, now we move on to the generations of petroleum. So what you will be learn here is the theory of generations, how both natural and generated hydrocarbon forms, as well as how does natural gas forms, both for hydrocarbon gas and non-hydrocarbon gas. So where does petroleum come from? As a petroleum geochemist, you should be able to tell your company why did you conclude it on that particular accumulation that is a prospect of petroleum, and why you decided to select that particular petroleum prospect to be drilled. So to make that kind of decision, you must have the idea on telling your company on how does the petroleum generate, migrates, accumulate, as well as preserve in that prospect. And to have that kind of conservative and definite interpretation, you must know how to evaluate the petroleum system that existed in that particular sedimentary basin. Alright, so a petroleum system is a system that encompasses all those geological elements and processes that are essential for a commercial or to occur in nature. I'm really sure that you have learned this when you were in first year, or even they always recap again when you were in third year. So we have in total 5 elements and 4 processes, which in relation to each other. So generation start from the source rock, where source rock then generates the oil and then expel the oil with when expel the oil when there's a cracking of the corrosions, and then the oil later migrated through the migration process through migration path and then accumulate in the trap and reservoir. And sea rock here acting as the prevent this oil from going up to the surface. Alright, so there are specific mechanism involved before petroleum being trapped in the reservoir rocks. So it started with the source rock that is rich in organic matter. Okay, you have to remember that the source rock that has nothing to do with the reservoir rock that contains the oil in the oil spill. You have to bear in mind that the source rock is the rock that generated the oil, then later the oil migrated into the reservoir rock, and the source rock must be, or maybe can exist in 10 of miles away from the oil field. So this organic matter later then will be transformed into corrosion by diagenesis processes and going through compaction, and then converted into petroleum by heat and pressure during maturation process. So when the corrosion in the source rock become matured during catalysis process, the oil and gas will undergo the primary migration, which the oil and gas will migrate from the source rock into carrier beds and later into the migration path that will allow the generated petroleum to move to the trap by the secondary migrations. So I did mention the diagenesis process and catalysis process. So these processes you will learn this later on. Okay, then there must be traps. If you can see from this figure, this is the structural traps of faults and a decline, which will prevent the oil and gas from going up or leak, as well as the sea rock that acting as will keep the petroleum below ground, and this is where the accumulation process occurs. So at the same time, there must be an adequate reservoir beds from which the petroleum can be extracted. Then this reservoir bed will preserve this accumulation with the help of sea rock and cap rock. And to make this perfect process in relation to the elements for an accumulation, there must be a proper timing of events from generations until preservations. Alright, now we go more to the generations of petroleum. Okay, we go more deeply into the generations of petroleum. So in history, there are two theories that have been documented by the scientists in order to tell the source of petroleum. Okay, we have two theories, a biogenic theory and a biogenic theory. So the first theory is a biogenic theory, in which the hydrocarbon found in petroleum can be generated in the mantle by abiogenic processes and then migrate out of the mantle into the crust until they escape to the surface or are trapped by impermeable strata, forming a petroleum reservoir. Then we have the second theory, which is a biogenic theory. This theory is more reliable than the abiogenic theory and mainly agreed and used by the scientists worldwide because of some reasons. This theory proposed that petroleum is generated by effects of heat and pressure on the organic remains of living organic matter and occur in the subsurface. So there are evidences on why our former scientists proposed these theories in order to tell the generations of petroleum, as well as there are also limitations on why a few scientists decline to accept the biogenic theory while most of them decline to accept the abiogenic theories. Alright, there are 4 evidences to support the evolutions of petroleum through abiogenic process or abiogenic theory. First, scientists claim that the presence of methane in the mercuric and other extraterrestrial bodies have evidence of methane and ultimately has a same source from the mantle of the earth. Second, all the compounds of petroleum can be prepared and synthesized by inorganic method. However, you have to make sure that oil cannot be synthesized. Third, methane can polymerize to higher homologue by applying high temperature and pressure that's similar to the mantle pressure and temperature. And then lastly, oil is found in granitic rocks of Vietnam. That is an unusual deposits of petroleum because oil usually formed from sedimentary rock. However, for the abiogenic theory, there are limitations on the mentioned evidence. Okay, first, as I mentioned earlier, although they found the presence of methane in the meteoric crater, such as in Sweden, Siljan, but after the drill, they didn't find any hydrocarbon accumulation in the crater. Therefore, they concluded that this theory is unpredictable. Next, this theory does not accept biomarker and cannot explain on the presence of porphyrin in the oil and gas, because porphyrin is one type of oil compound that's sourced from the chlorophyll found in plant, and this suggesting of organic input. So next, this theory cannot explain the optical rotations that derive and occur within the bond of hydrogen-carbon compounds when you examine the oil using oil emission objective for the thermal maturity interpretation. And lastly, this theory does not support the presence of average carbon isotope composition in petroleum. You have to make sure, or you have to bear in mind that isotope is the term which compound has the same atomic but has no atomic number but different in mass number. So for example, carbon 12, carbon 13 and carbon 14 that are usually used to know the deposition environment by using carbon 12 and carbon 13, while carbon 14 is usually used for age dating of any fossil and rock type. Okay. Okay, for example, there's an unusual deposit found in gravity oil of Vietnam. So you can see here, mostly oil occur along the fault and joints that form in the granite. Alright, for the abergenic theory, there are 6 evidences which support and make this theory more reliable and concrete than the abergenic theory. Okay, the first one, carbon and hydrogen are the 2 elements that are essential, dominating constituents of petroleum. So therefore, scientists were very confident that the petroleum were generated by this theory because these 2 elements are predominant in the remains of organic material, both plants and animal. Meanwhile, nitrogen is found nearly in all petroleum. That is another direct indications of organic origin of petroleum, in which nitrogen is an essential compound of amino acid, that is hydrolyzed protein in living matter. Second, there are presence of optical activity in petroleum, which is the power to rotate the plane of polarizations of a polarized light, and is a property of most petroleum and is not known to occur in oils of inorganic origin or inorganic substance or materials or minerals, except in cinnabar and quartz. And there are many crude oils that have been found to contain porphyrin pigment in asphalt fraction of oil, and porphyrin in essentially present in living organism, which this suggesting a direct evidence of organic origins in petroleum. Okay, there are also existing of biomarker in petroleum that will also suggest the origins of organic compound whose carbon structure can be traced back to living organisms that are called biomarker. Okay, then some example of biomarker. Next there are well documented on the similarity of odd even periodicity between petroleum paraffin and living organism, which indicates that the origin of that particular petroleum accumulation. For example, the plant can be synthesized almost exclusively paraffin with odd number of carbon atom in the change ranging from C25 to C37 in the variety of plants, while marine plants synthesize smaller odd carbon change length of C15, C17, C19 and C21. And the last evidence in supporting the petroleum generation from organic material is the presence of polymorph material or organism in petroleum itself. Okay, polymorph here refers to the presence of fossil pollen or spore from a flowering plant that usually found in swamp or in a closed system of lakes. Alright, so there are also limitations of the supporting evidence of the petroleum generations from organic source. So first, it is not possible to generate long change by polymerizations at low temperature, low pressure of natural condition. We have to bear in mind that polymerization can only be carried out in high temperature and pressure. Therefore, a polymerization process to be occur in natural condition is impossible because the free energy that exists in hydrogen or hydrocarbon compound did not change in every increase of CH2 group. Next, the average concentrations of hydrogen in proportion to carbon is less in organic matter than in petroleum. Okay, because the hydrogen by carbon ratio in organic matter and petroleum, the difference of concentrations of hydrogen and carbon ratio in organic matter and petroleum, in which this ratio has been found more abundant in petroleum than the origin of organic matter of that particular petroleum itself. So the imputation somehow might be only predictions, not definite one. And the last limitation for not using this theory is because there will